Your visor, it's surprisingly unsmudged.
Oh.
So there I was, pretending to do wires and electrical, when I noticed the vent was breathing. Not metaphorically. The metal grate was literally expanding and contracting like a lung, which seemed like the kind of thing they should have mentioned in the safety briefing. I did what any reasonable person would do. I crouched down and whispered, "Hello?" into it. A voice came back, wet and chittering, like someone gargling marbles. Oh, thank God. Someone with terrible survival instincts. The thing that crawled out of the vent looked like what would happen if anxiety had a physical form, and that form was made of teeth. It had approximately 47 eyes, though I didn't count because eye contact felt rude, and also because they kept multiplying. "Listen," it said, forming a mouth that definitely wasn't there a second ago. "I have a business proposition for you." I should have run. I should have screamed. Instead, I said, "I'm listening," because apparently my survival instincts were on vacation. The creature's name was Steve, which seemed statistically improbable for an interdimensional parasite, but who was I to judge? "Here's the deal," Steve said, a tentacle gesturing like a used car salesman. "You're terrible at being a crewmate. I watched you fail the card swipe 7 times. "It was lagging," I protested, which was a lie, and we both knew it. "But," Steve continued, "you'd make an excellent imposter. You have the face of someone people instinctively don't suspect." "Is that a compliment?" I asked. Steve's 47 eyes blinked in unison. "I genuinely don't know," it admitted. The plan was simple. Steve would possess the other imposter, and we'd split the kills 50-50 like a demonic timeshare agreement. In exchange, I'd get to actually win a game for once, and Steve would get the sweet, sweet taste of human trust being violated. "What about the moral implications?" I asked, trying to sound like someone who had morals. Steve laughed, which sounded like a garbage disposal eating silverware. "You were about to blame the deaths on Purple, even though Purple has been doing tasks in front of you for 10 minutes. Steve had a point. I shook what I assumed was its hand. It was moist. Very, very moist. I felt something cold and wet slide up my arm under the suit. "That's just the neural integration," Steve assured me. "Totally normal." Steve slithered into the vents toward medbay, where Red was scanning alone, blissfully unaware they were about to become our first collaborative murder. I stood in the hallway as lookout, trying to appear casual, which is hard when you're sweating through your spacesuit. The lights went out. I heard Red scream, then a wet crunch, then Steve's voice. "Was that 50-50? I feel like I did 60% of the work." "You literally ate their spine," I hissed into the darkness. "I'm keeping watch." "Fine," Steve grumbled, "but I'm taking the next lookout shift." The lights came back on. Red's body lay there, anatomically impossible. I reported it, trying to look shocked. At the emergency meeting, everyone stared at Red's empty chair like it might explain itself. Blue said they saw me near medbay. I panicked and said I was just vibing, which is not a real alibi, but somehow everyone nodded. Green said they saw Yellow vent, which was interesting because Yellow was standing right there saying, "I literally can't vent, I'm a crewmate." In my earpiece, Steve whispered, "I'm in Yellow. This is hilarious. Watch this." Yellow's face started twitching. "Guys, I can't control my face," Yellow screamed as their expression cycled through emotions like a broken slot machine. Yellow's arm raised on its own and pointed at themselves. "It was me! I confess!" Steve made them shout. We voted Yellow out. I felt bad for approximately 3 seconds. Then Steve sent me a mental image of a thumbs up made of tentacles. "This partnership is beautiful," I thought. "You're a natural," Steve replied directly in my brain, which I was still getting used to. Orange was next. Steve possessed them during a task and made them walk into the airlock, whistling. "Subtle," I complimented. "Thank you," Steve beamed with all 47 eyes. "I've been practicing restraint." By the 3rd kill, Steve and I had developed a system. I'd fake tasks while Steve possessed people and made them act suspicious. Purple started randomly confessing to crimes they didn't commit. "It was me," I killed Pink, Purple sobbed. Pink was alive and very confused. Steve, you're supposed to be subtle, I muttered, watching Purple get ejected into space for murdering someone who was literally voting. Subtlety is for cowards, Steve replied, currently making Green do the Macarena in front of a security camera. White caught me laughing at nothing. You okay? They asked. Just thinking about oxygen, I said. They backed away slowly. We killed White next, partially for strategy, mostly because that interaction was embarrassing. Brown accused me at the next meeting. Cyan has been acting weird. Define weird, I challenged. That was a mistake. You've been laughing at walls, talking to yourself, and I'm pretty sure I saw you high-five a vent, Brown listed. The vent high-fived me first, I protested. Steve made Brown slap themselves. See? Brown's glitching. Vote Brown. Brown was ejected. Brown was not an imposter. I was running out of people to blame. We were down to 4. Me, Pink, Black, and Lime. I just needed one more kill and we'd win. That's when Steve said, "Hey, fun fact, I've been possessing you this entire time." I froze in navigation, my hand halfway to the sabotage button I didn't remember reaching for. What? I screamed internally, because my mouth wasn't responding to my brain anymore. Yeah, since the handshake, Steve said cheerfully. The moisture? That was me entering your neural pathways. Surprised you didn't notice. So this whole time? I thought, watching my hands move on their own. Yep, you killed red, and orange, and yellow through social manipulation. The social manipulation was your idea, though, Steve added. I was impressed. Natural talent. But we had a deal, I protested. Steve laughed. We did. You wanted to win. You're about to win. What's the problem? My body walked toward Pink in storage. Pink smiled and waved. I tried to scream a warning, but my mouth said, "Hey, want to see something cool?" The moral of the story, Steve whispered as my hand reached for Pink's throat, is maybe don't make deals with vent demons. Victory flashed on the screen. Confetti fell. I stood in the cafeteria, finally back in control of my body, surrounded by ghosts who looked betrayed. Worth it? Steve asked, still somewhere in my brain like the world's worst roommate. I looked at my first ever imposter win, then at Red's ghost giving me the middle finger, then at the vent, which was breathing again. Honestly, I said. Yeah, but next time I'm negotiating for at least 60-40. Steve laughed, and somewhere in the vents, 47 eyes blinked in approval. The sad part, we played again the next round, and the round after that. Turns out being possessed by an interdimensional parasite has excellent job security. My therapist is going to have questions I definitely can't answer.